This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, September 29th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the White House today to discuss a potential peace plan for Gaza. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
He slammed into the building on purpose.
We'll tell you what we know about the attacker on a church in Michigan on Sunday morning. I'm Joan Jones.
President Trump will reportedly attend a meeting with top military officials this week, organized by the Defense Secretary. I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, 2 days left in September trading, and stocks are on pace for a winning month. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
On who just dropped out of the New York City mayoral race, correspondent Julie Walker reports. And a Supreme Court victory for President Trump.
The Supreme Court is allowing President Trump to freeze nearly $5 billion in foreign aid funding. Jennifer King, Washington.
All ahead on America in the Morning. There are two big meetings today for President Trump, which will include in the afternoon a meeting with the leaders of the House and Senate in a final attempt to avoid a government shutdown. To start the day, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will visit the White House to talk about a peace plan the president presented to Arab leaders last week that could prove to be a roadmap for an end to the war in Gaza. John Stolnis has the latest from Washington.
Netanyahu's White House meeting comes as President Trump and his team work to convince him to move forward with a 21-point proposal that would call for an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages held by Hamas within 48 hours, and the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. Speaking on Fox News Sunday, Netanyahu claims to be open-minded.
It's not been finalized yet, but we're working with President Trump's team, actually as we speak, and I hope we can make it a go because we want to free our hostages. We want to get rid of Hamas rule and have them disarmed, Gaza demilitarized, and a new future set up for Gazans and Israelis alike and for the whole region.
Netanyahu said he's optimistic his talks with the president will be fruitful.
I think there are many possibilities for peace, which I'm discussing with President Trump and his team, and we plan to seize them. I think you'll see that not only are the Abraham Accords not endangered, they'll be expanded.
On Sunday night in Tel Aviv, hundreds of supporters turned out urging Netanyahu to do what's needed to secure the release of those hostages. One of the speakers, a woman who was released by Hamas, Doran Steinbrecher.
Families remain torn apart, their loved ones trapped in darkness, some waiting for a chance to return to life and freedom, others waiting to be buried with dignity. Mr. President, as you meet Prime Minister Netanyahu, please make the hostages your top priority.
Netanyahu has been under pressure by the international community and many in his own country to bring the war to an end. Gaza's health ministry says more than 66,000 Palestinians have died in the war triggered by Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. Democratic Senator John Fetterman telling Fox News any plan that lets Hamas off the hook is one that he can't support.
They are normalizing keeping human beings underground for 2 years and forcing them to dug their own graves. And now it's like, hey, let's give them a nation.
The meeting at the White House is expected to take place shortly before noon Eastern Time. John Stolnis, Washington.
The death toll continues to rise in Michigan after a man drove his pickup truck into a church in the suburbs of Flint, started shooting, and then set the house of worship on fire. Joan Jones has details.
The search for a motive behind yesterday's attack on a Michigan church continues today. For now, investigators say the suspect is 40-year-old Thomas Sanford. He's a veteran of the Iraq War, and he rammed his pickup truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, several times before opening fire on worshipers inside and setting that church on fire. Now, the vehicle survived the fire. It was shown as having two large American flags behind the cab and a set of deer antlers attached to the bumper. Now, this woman tells WXYZ-TV in Detroit that she was inside the building when gunfire broke out.
It was just scary. I mean, I came to worship my Savior Jesus Christ, and I didn't expect this to happen, of course. And I've lost friends in there. And some of my little primary children that I teach on Sundays were hurt.
And this man telling the reporter that the attacker didn't want to let anyone get away.
But as soon as we found out that he slammed into the building on purpose, I was pretty sure that then he might come out with guns drawn, and so we started running. I gathered as many people as we could, and I was driving out of the parking lot to safety when he started shooting at us.
That man was injured by flying glass. Now, Sanford may have used improvised explosive devices to set the church on fire before he was killed by police within 8 minutes, and they do expect to find more victims in the rubble of that burned-out church. Last night, the Michigan State Police bomb squad was seen outside the suspect's home. That's about 8 miles from the church. Sanford was reportedly married with a 10-year-old son who had suffered from health problems. All of this is being looked at in the early stages here as investigators comb through his belongings and question his family so they can figure out why Sanford chose to commit mass murder at a packed local church on a quiet Sunday morning. I'm Joan Jones.
There's been a new twist in the Big Apple's mayoral contest. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The national forecast on America in the Morning. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Tropical storm Imelda formed over the central Bahamas midday Sunday and is now making a slow shift to the north. Imelda will continue to strengthen during the day today, and impacts across the southeast will increase as well. Some of the outer circumference of the storm will be producing some showers and thunderstorms along the east coast of Florida first thing this morning, some of which could become gusty, and then continue to expand northward into the coastal Carolinas, where moisture and rain from Imelda will stretch out well ahead of the storm center. AccuWeather hurricane experts are predicting that Imelda will continue to move northward along the coast today and then start a shift eastward tonight into Tuesday as Hurricane Humberto draws the system eastward and a close pass to one another. Even as Imelda moves away from the coast, we'll still see some rain into Tuesday before drying out Tuesday night, and rough surf and rip currents could last through the week. Heading out west, there's a lengthy cold front moving onshore in the northwest that will continue to expand into northern California today, and this will lead to periods of rain along the coast from Washington into Oregon and northern California, with showers and thunderstorms inland of each of these states. Additional afternoon thunderstorms will form over New Mexico into Colorado, but much of the time it will be rain-free. And the rest of the nation will be largely dry. There will be some high clouds building northward from Tropical Storm Imelda that will cause some dimming of the sun into the northeast, but highs will still be in the 70s and 80s. Sunshine will be far more abundant through the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, into the southeast and plains. That's the weather across America. Albuquerque, New Mexico will have a mixture of sun and clouds today with an afternoon thunder shower and a high of 75. It'll be a hot day in Springfield, Illinois with plenty of sun and a high of 90. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Listen on your preferred platform when you search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. President Trump plans to attend a meeting this week with top U.S. military officials that was put in place by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
NBC News is reporting that President Trump will attend a meeting held by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth near Washington, D.C. on Tuesday with hundreds of top military officials. In a phone call with NBC News, the president reportedly said it'll be a very nice meeting, talking about how the U.S. is doing militarily, about being in great shape, he said, and about a lot of good, positive things. The military leaders invited to the meeting are coming from around the world. The meeting is going to be held at Quantico Marine Corps Base in Virginia. It reportedly will also highlight military accomplishments and talk about the future of the Defense Department under Hegseth's direction. I'm Clayton Neville.
The current mayor of New York City has abandoned his re-election campaign. Correspondent Julie Walker reports New York City Mayor Eric Adams' departure comes just 5 weeks before Election Day.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams' decision to end his re-election bid comes after repeatedly insisting he would stay in the contest.
Despite all we've achieved, I cannot continue my re-election campaign.
In his video message, Adams blames media speculation and the city's campaign finance board withholding public funding. Adams did not endorse another candidate, but warns of insidious forces using local government to advance divisive agendas.
Major change is welcome and necessary, but beware of those who claim the answer to destroy the very system we built together over generations. That is not change, that is chaos.
The one-term mayor's campaign was badly hurt by his now dismissed federal bribery case. Julie Walker, New York.
Tariffs prompt U.S. farmers' government relief checks. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. The last Monday of September is here. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with Monday Business.
Wall Street opens this morning with just 2 days left in September trading. Stocks are on pace for a winning month. They're coming off a losing week from last week, though. Investors keep looking for the safety of precious metals. On Friday, silver hit its highest in 14 years. Platinum hit its highest in 12 years. Gold is still very near its record high. Boeing shares soared on Friday as the Federal Aviation Administration said it would ease restrictions on plane certification.
If they once again have the authority to certify their own aircraft before they are delivered, it makes it much easier as they are planning to raise production levels. And that's crucial because if you have to wait for the approval of the FAA on every single aircraft that is delivered, it just becomes more cumbersome.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. American consumers struggling with inflation, and consumer sentiment dropped again in the University of Michigan survey to its lowest since May. Here's CNBC's Sarah Eisen.
It was broad across age, income, and education. Key exception, consumers with large stock holdings. Stock market did well in September, and so those consumers didn't feel as pessimistic, but everybody else did.
Inflation in the PCE report on Friday, sitting at 2.9%, well above the Fed's target of just 2% inflation. American farmers may be getting government relief checks as other countries are no longer buying American produce.
The president acknowledging that his trade war has caused some fallout for American farmers who have seen a drop-off in Chinese purchases of American soybeans. He said he's going to develop a mechanism to transfer some of the tariff dollars that he's taking from American importers, transfer those dollars to American farmers.
CNBC's Eamon Javers. The NFL is coming off its second international game yesterday, the first regular season NFL game in Ireland at Croke Park Stadium, 80,000 fans. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell told CNBC exclusively, markets outside of the U.S. are very attractive. The league is trying to grow. And here's NFL Executive Vice President Peter O'Reilly talking with CNBC in Dublin.
If we are only coming in and playing a game, or are the circus coming to town, that's not going to be effective. This is coming to a market, playing a game, and then creating year-round commitment, opening offices, creating flag football in schools, building media partnerships. It's about the long game and being patient, knowing that we've got a lot to learn and a lot to do, and continue to build bonds and strengthen our fan base.
On today's watch list, investors will be monitoring whether a government shutdown happens tomorrow night.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return, Trump freezes billions in foreign aid. That and more on America in the Morning after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The state of Oregon has sued the Trump administration in a bid to block the deployment of the National Guard to Portland. The lawsuit was filed by the Oregon Attorney General just hours after Governor Tina Kotek received a memo from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to call up 200 Oregon National Guard members into federal service in the city of Portland for 60 days. The state attorney general, the governor, and Portland Mayor Keith Wilson called the president's actions an infringement on state and local sovereignty and a violation of federal law. President Trump has moved to federalize National Guard troops under federal law known as Title 10, Section 12406. The law says the president can call up the National Guard in federal service when the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States or repel an invasion by a foreign nation or suppress a rebellion. Also today, the U.S. Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to freeze more than $4 billion in foreign aid, lifting a previous injunction ordered by a federal judge. Jennifer King reports it's a victory for Trump, giving him greater control over federal spending and the nation's foreign affairs.
The Supreme Court is allowing President Trump to freeze nearly $5 billion in foreign aid funding. The order favors a Justice Department appeal and extends a block on a lower court ruling. It's a victory for the president in his legal disputes over the extent of presidential power. The majority wrote that the high court was not making a final ruling in the case, but that Trump's authority over foreign affairs weighed heavily in its decision. One of the three dissenting justices, Elena Kagan, wrote that at issue is the allocation of power between the executive and Congress over the expenditure of public monies. Trump used what's known as a pocket rescission, telling Speaker Johnson back in late August he would not be spending those funds, which were approved by Congress for the State Department and the U.S. Agency for International Development. Jennifer King, Washington.
America in the Morning for Monday, September 29th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Trump and House Democrats are trading barbs as the nation edges closer to a government shutdown. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
A North Carolina man is charged with murder after officials say he opened fire from a boat into a crowd. I'm Julie Walker.
As the U.S. encourages the end of the Russia-Ukraine war, more strikes on Kyiv over the weekend. I'm Clayton Neville.
Des Moines, Iowa schools are facing a new turmoil as their superintendent is jailed. I'm Sue Aller.
Award season has started at the box office this week. I'm Kevin Carr.
And Imelda's potential impact on the U.S. coast. Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues with a check of the nation's forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Tropical storm Imelda is over the central Bahamas this morning and will continue on a slow northward movement today while also increasing in intensity. This will increase some of the impacts along the southeast coast. Even this morning, some of the outer portions of the storm will be producing showers and thunderstorms along the east coast of Florida, some of which could become gusty. This will then continue to expand northward into the coastal Carolinas, where moisture and rain from Imelda will stretch out well north of the storm center. AccuWeather hurricane experts are forecasting that Imelda will continue to move northward along the coast of Florida today and then shift eastward tonight into Tuesday. Humberto, a hurricane just to the east of Imelda, will pull the system eastward, which will spare the southeast larger impacts. Even though Imelda is moving away from the coast, there will still be some rain along the coast into Tuesday before drying out Tuesday night, but rough surf and rip currents could continue through the week. In the northwest, there's a large cold front moving onshore, and that will expand into Northern California today. This will lead to periods of rain along the coast from Washington into Oregon and Northern California, and showers and thunderstorms will form farther inland in each of these states. Additional showers and thunderstorms will form in the afternoon in New Mexico into Colorado, but much of the time it will be rain-free. And the rest of the nation, it's going to be largely dry. There will be some high clouds building northward from Tropical Storm Imelda that will cause some dimming of the sun into the northeast, but highs will still be in the 70s and 80s from the middle Atlantic into the northeast. And sunshine will be far more abundant through the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley and the rest of the southeast and westward to the plains. And these areas are going to be quite warm with highs in the 80s and 90s. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The White House will be the focus of two important meetings today as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meets to discuss with President Trump a peace plan for Gaza and Israel. And the senior leadership in the White House and Senate will sit down with President Trump in efforts to avoid a government shutdown set for Wednesday. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports Democrats are against a Republican plan to fund the government through November, but Republicans stand firm that this is the right fiscal plan to follow.
President Trump and House Democrats are trading barbs as the nation edges closer to a government shutdown.
Now, what's being suggested by the Democrat leader is they are willing, he's willing, I hope they aren't, he's willing to shut the government down over a clean CR. Something that last year and the year before he said he wanted, because that's the way to do this. Not with all kinds of things attached to it and poison pills, but clean, straight up fund the government.
Democrats insist on health care provisions as part of a spending package to avoid a shutdown Wednesday.
Well, this is all caused by the Democrats. They asked us to do something that's totally unreasonable. They never change. They want to give money away to illegally, people that entered our country illegally. They want to give them massive federal money. And we don't want to do that because it means everyone's going to just keep pouring back. Right now, we have absolutely perfect borders.
As he left the White House to watch the Ryder Cup in New York, the president said they will be to blame if there is a shutdown.
These people are crazy, the Democrats. So if it has to shut down, it'll have to shut down.
Here in Washington, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats are not backing down and notes while he's at the Capitol ready to talk.
4 days away from a government shutdown, and Republicans are on vacation. House Republicans on vacation cancel votes on the eve of a government shutdown.
Plus.
And Donald Trump is at a golf event. He doesn't have the time to meet with Democratic leaders to fund the government and address the Republican health care crisis. But Donald Trump, right now, as we speak, is at a golf event. It's outrageous.
Despite sharp divisions, top Senate Republican John Thune tells the AP a shutdown is avoidable, but only if Democrats dial back their demands. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
It was the unthinkable as people dined and drank at a waterfront seafood restaurant along a North Carolina river. A gunman in a boat coasted up to the eatery's dock and opened fire, killing 3 and wounding 5 others. Correspondent Julie Walker has more on the incident.
A North Carolina man is charged with murder after officials say he opened fire from a boat into a crowd at a Southport waterfront bar Saturday night, killing 3 and injuring 5.
We believe that this was a targeted location. We appear that he acted in what we call a lone wolf. He acted alone. This is highly premeditated from what we're seeing at this time.
District Attorney John David identifies him as Nigel Edge and says it was a targeted location.
We have developed evidence at an early stage that this was highly premeditated.
David says Edge was on their radar.
But nothing significant in his past which would give us any indication that he was capable of such horror.
Oak Island Police Chief Charlie Morris says the 40-year-old was a longtime resident, a veteran, and also known to them as Sean DeBevois.
We were familiar with Sean. He has been a resident of Oak Island for several years. He frequently hung out on our pier. Our employees knew him. And so, yeah, we were just familiar with him. He has filed a lawsuit, sent numerous lawsuits on the town, on the police department within the last couple years.
Edge is being held without bond. I'm Julie Walker.
The Russia-Ukraine war rages on with aerial attacks on Kyiv by missiles and drones. As Russia's foreign minister condemns Israel's war in Gaza, correspondent Clayton Neville has more on the story.
At least 4 people were killed, including a 12-year-old girl, during weekend Russian airstrikes on Kyiv. The attack lasted longer than 12 hours. Residential and commercial buildings were hit, including a bread production facility and a cardiology center. Responding to potential retaliation, Russia warned that any aggression against Moscow would bring a decisive response. As far as America is concerned,
the president is growing incredibly impatient with the Russians right now because he doesn't feel like they're putting enough on the table to end the war.
Vice President J.D. Vance recently spoke about the Trump administration's attitude toward the ongoing war.
The war is bad for Russia. It's bad for Ukraine. It's bad for America. We want the killing to stop.
Vance told Fox News Sunday it's time for Russia to wake up.
A lot of people are dying. They don't have a lot to show for it. How many more people are they willing to lose? How many more people are they willing to kill for very little, if any, gain in the military advantage on the ground there? I think the answer is hopefully not that much, but certainly our attitude here is we're going to keep on working for peace, and we hope the Russians actually wake up to the reality on the ground.
Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov turned some heads at the UN in recent days after ripping Israel for its attacks on Hamas and Gaza.
No justification for the brutal killings of the civilian population of Palestine or for terrorist attacks. There is also no justification for the collective punishment of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, where Palestinian children are dying from bombing and starvation.
According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, over the weekend, Russia carried out 81 airstrikes and dropped 156 aerial bombs, launching more than 5,000 attacks in total, including thousands of kamikaze drones. I'm Clayton Neville.
Among the stories you'll hear next, a school superintendent in the country illegally, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Tropical storm Imelda formed Sunday in the western Atlantic and is forecast to strengthen over the next few days, bringing the threat of rainfall and tropical winds to portions of the southeastern U.S. early this week. Imelda is the 9th named storm of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season and forecast to become a hurricane as soon as later today. Rainfall from Imelda likely to impact Cuba and the Bahamas through Tuesday, but the storm track has changed and now is expected to turn out to sea east of Florida and not land on the continental United States, instead heading toward a possible landfall with Bermuda on Thursday. Shifting gears, the U.S. government says it's revoking the visa of Colombia's president, and tensions between the two countries are escalating. Correspondent Donna Warner reports on what the South American leader said at a protest that set off alarms at the State Department.
There was a protest in New York City on Friday as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered his address to the United Nations General Assembly. And Colombian President Gustavo Petro was there, telling protesters, "The history of humanity has shown us over the millennia that when diplomacy ends, we must move to another phase of the fight." But he also told protesters, "I ask all the soldiers of the United States Army, don't point your rifles against humanity and disobey the orders of Trump." The U.S. State Department says it's revoking Petro's visa because he called on U.S. soldiers to disobey President Donald Trump's orders. It's unclear if the decision forced Petro to leave the U.S. earlier than expected, but he returned to Colombia on Saturday. He wrote on social media that he doesn't care about the punishment because he's also a European citizen, and he says he does not need a visa to travel to the U.S. I'm Donna Warner.
The superintendent of the Des Moines, Iowa public school system was taken into custody by immigration officials. Sue Aller reports not only was Dr. Ian Roberts allegedly in the country illegally, he was also apprehended with a loaded gun.
Public schools in Des Moines, Iowa are without a superintendent after Dr. Ian Roberts was taken into custody by federal immigration authorities. Roberts is being held in the Woodbury County Jail after what ICE called a targeted enforcement operation. Officials say he is an illegal immigrant from Guyana and claim he was carrying a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a hunting knife at the time of his arrest last Friday. School board president Jackie Norris called the news troubling and said a background check had been performed before Roberts was hired.
In this case, the search firm used a company called Baker Eubanks to conduct the background check, which found nothing related to citizenship or immigration matters related to Dr. Roberts.
ICE says Roberts tried to flee in his vehicle before abandoning it near a wooded area where he was later taken into custody with help from the Iowa State Patrol. The arrest sparked protests outside the Woodbury County Law Enforcement Center Saturday, with demonstrators calling for his release. Roberts has worked in school leadership positions across the country for more than 20 years. The district has appointed interim leadership while the case moves forward. I'm Sue Aller.
Stowaway found dead in the landing gear of an American Airlines aircraft that had recently arrived from Europe. Police in Charlotte, North Carolina report that maintenance crews were working on the plane at Charlotte Douglas International Airport when the body was discovered. The plane flew through temperatures as low as minus 60 degrees on its transatlantic journey, with a lack of oxygen at altitudes of 35,000 feet. Earlier this year, 2 bodies were found in the wheel well of a JetBlue plane after a flight landed in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. America in the Morning continues. Computer gaming giant Electronic Arts is working on a deal to take the company private in a record-setting way. That in today's Tech Report with our Chuck Palm.
Computer gaming giant Electronic Arts, the company responsible for wildly popular games like Madden Football, FIFA, and The Sims, is about to ditch the public spotlight for a cozy private gaming empire. EA is entertaining a $50 billion deal, according to the Wall Street Journal. Sources close to the deal say that EA is working with a powerhouse team, including private equity pros Silver Lake and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, and even Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. This is hot on the heels of EA's stellar fiscal 26 first quarter earnings of nearly $1.7 billion in revenue, with CEO Andrew Wilson hyping up mega launches like Battlefield 6 and Skate. If EA does go private, it could turbocharge innovations without those quarterly earnings drama for powerhouse titles like Plants vs. Zombies or EA Sports. Crypto is trading up like Bitcoin at $112,000. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
The Monday edition of Sports has arrived. Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Week 4 of the NFL season began with 6 unbeaten teams. Now we're down to 2. 2 of the 3-0 teams met in Tampa Bay as the Super Bowl champion Eagles beat the Buccaneers 31-25. The 4-0 Bills kept the Saints winless 31-19. Josh Allen accounted for 3 touchdowns. As for the rest, the Chargers' perfect start ended with a loss to the previously winless Giants. Rookie quarterback Jackson Dart ran for 1 score and threw for another.
Obviously this experience was a special one. Being my first one.
Matthew Stafford passed for 2 late TDs as the Rams handed the Colts their first defeat, and the Jaguars ended the 49ers winning streak, forcing 4 turnovers. 2 winless teams squared off. The Texans trampled the Titans 26-0, Houston's first shutout in 15 years. The Steelers held off the Vikings in Dublin, Ireland. Wins for the Chiefs, Falcons, Lions, Patriots, and Bears. And Sunday night, the Packers and the Cowboys played to a 40-40 tie, the second highest scoring draw in NFL history. We get a Monday night doubleheader tonight. The last day of baseball's regular season sorted out the playoff picture. Brian Rocchio hit a walk-off 3-run homer in the 10th to give the Guardians a 9-8 win over the Rangers and the AL Central Division crown, completing the biggest comeback ever. Cleveland was 15.5 games behind Detroit on July 6th. The Red Sox tripped the Tigers yesterday, so the Kitties will face the Guardians in the wild card round starting tomorrow in Cleveland. Boston is on its way to the Bronx to take on the Yankees, while the Blue Jays blasted the Rays to win the AL East and earn a bye. The AL West winning Mariners also get a few days off, despite losing to the Dodgers. LA will host Cincinnati in the NL wildcard round. The Reds lost to the Brewers, but the Marlins blanked the Mets to knock them out of the race. And a final day rally by the U.S. fell just short as Europe retained golf's Ryder Cup. That's Monday Sports.
Stick around for this, the clear winner in sports merchandise sales, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Singers Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran were among those who gave speeches at the wedding of fellow singer Selena Gomez, who married music producer Barry Blanco over the weekend. Among the 170 A-listers celebrating the nuptials were Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Paris Hilton. Although the couple first announced their romance in 2023, they knew each other for about a decade. Blanco produced 2 of Gomez's songs in 2015. America in the Morning continues. The box office was a bit slow over the weekend, and it was an award-winning film and a pair of thrillers that took the top spots in theaters. Kevin Carr reports.
Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another topped the box office this weekend, making an early strike into award season.
This is Bob Ferguson. I was a part of the French 75.
The Leonardo DiCaprio action comedy thriller brought in $22 million, which was on the low end of expectations, though it is a strong start for the critical darling director.
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you, Sensei. Thank you.
However, even with stellar reviews and good word of mouth, the movie will struggle to make back its $130 million budget.
It's time to get tiny. Let's get the dollhouse back.
In the number 2 spot was Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, with $14 million, which isn't a bad start for the spinoff of the popular Netflix preschool series.
This battle may finally reach its conclusion tonight.
Third belonged to anime juggernaut Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. After spending 2 weeks at number 1, the film is still going strong. With more than $600 million worldwide, it is now the highest-grossing anime ever.
That thing in your attic is a demon.
In fourth place was The Conjuring Last Rites with $7 million. The finale of the Conjuring films has now become the most successful with $435 million worldwide.
So you're the one everybody's talking about, the one that survived.
And rounding out the top 5 was The Strangers Chapter 2, eking out less than $6 million. The movie's tiny $8 million budget will ultimately save the film, though maybe not the franchise. I'm Kevin Carr.
Shohei Ohtani's marketability remains unequaled as he dominates another year of baseball jersey sales. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
Shohei Ohtani has baseball's top-selling jersey for the third year in a row. The Dodgers' two-way star and two-time reigning NL MVP topped Major League Baseball's list of jersey sales this year, becoming the fourth major leaguer to do so in 3 straight seasons, joining teammate Mookie Betts, Yankees slugger Aaron Judge, and Hall of Famer Derek Jeter. Two-time AL MVP Judge ranks second. The Dodgers' Freddie Freeman and Betts and the Mets' Francisco Lindor round out the top 5. Major League home run leader Cal Raleigh of the Mariners is also among league leaders, ranking 20th. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
America in the Morning for Monday, September 29th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.